Welcome everyone to another episode of the Marked Out Podcast. I am Mustache, as
And
joined as by always with my friend Dustin. Dustin, how are you today, man?
hey, man, how you doing today?
Uh, yeah, we're doing good. We're doing good. It's been a while. Nah, not really. Maybe like 2 weeks,
2 weeks,
but we're getting stuff in order and we're trying to provide the best content. And today is going to be
better
one
late
of
than
our more
never.
Yeah, better late than never. One of our more challenging episodes to date because it's a whole retrospective of an entire thing. This is several years, but we're going to do our best. Today we're talking about the NWO and Dustin does not know what the NWO is because he only started watching wrestling in 2008 and he was a little baby guy at this time.
Okay, well, first of all, let's not be disrespectful. I did my research, okay? I went back and watched some stuff. I will just say, we will get into it later. I will just say, though, while the NWO is one of the greatest factions of all time, with my
Yeah.
research and going back and watching stuff, it is one of the most fucking convoluted fucking groups I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, I got my list right here, and this is just some of them because you know who all, like, from the inception of the Wolf, like NWO all the way through, who was in this motherfucker? Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Mr.
Well,
Wall Street, Sting, fucking
Mr.
X,
Wall Street.
yeah, fucking X Pac, Rick Rude, Buff
That's a
Bagwell,
cool
Dennis fucking Rodman. I saw it.
look at
Yeah.
that. Those are cool though, man. Those are so it screams 90s. It's awesome though.
Fucking Dusty Rhodes, Disco Inferno. Like who wasn't in the fucking NWO at this
Well,
point?
that's what we're going to get to. We'll get to the reasons why the NWO failed, but I think with a little hindsight, it could have just been the nail in the coffin for the WWE, and it almost was. Um, so let's start at the beginning of the NWO. Like I said, we do a little research for ones like these because this is a whole timeline we're going through here. So, and if you're an avid fan, you probably know the story of NWO. There's 1,000 documentaries about the NWO. But what it all starts from is Scott Hall getting a contract offer from WCW and coming out on Nitro. Dustin, you went back and watched this part. What did you think about the first remnants of the NWO?
Well, it kind of started off from what I saw. It kind of just started off like because they were the outsiders. They were Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, as many people know. First, it started off with Scott Hall, and then Kevin Nash kind of came into the fold. But at first, like hindsight's 2020. You don't really think much of it. You just think like this is a WWE/WWF tag team coming into WCW, and they're trying to make them like the heels. But you see the little remnants of it when they announce that they're going to have the mystery partner, and they're beating up all the people each week, and they're just leading up to it. So they're planting the seeds, but you don't really know what's to come at this point.
It's pretty crazy because you got to go back and you see how Scott Hall first debuts. He debuts in like a nothing match between two guys. I don't even remember their names, but it's this throwaway match on Nitro. And they do it so well. And this is with the NWO. The first thing that they do well is they try to make it more reality based. And so when you have Scott Hall, he's dressed up like a regular ass person. He's got a jean jacket on. He comes through the barricade, comes through the crowd. The announcers, it's hokey looking back on it now, but back the announcers were like, "Who's this? What the hell's going on?" And he just grabs the mic in a match and he just says a little thing. We're taking over, stuff like that. Goes away and no one knows what to think. Like, oh shit, Scott Hall, but what the hell are they doing? Then he brings in Kevin Nash. He says he's got the big guy. Then you start to think like, oh, these are two WWE guys coming in. Like, is WWE sending people? Like, it's crazy to think that fans would buy into it. But back in the day, there weren't smartasses like me and you, so fans are starting to get into
Yeah,
the
I mean,
storyline.
at this point, kayfabe wasn't completely dead. So people are like, "Oh my god, that's a WCW guy on or WWE guy on WCW." So it was just kayfabe definitely made like the thing about the NWO is if you did the NWO in today's age, I do not think it would work. I
So
think it
you're
was
gonna
a big
shit on the
proponent.
NWO this whole podcast, huh?
I'm
You're
not
just gonna.
shitting on the
I
NWO,
can
but
tell. I can tell that's your agenda right now.
no, 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 no. Listen, NWO objectively is one of the greatest factions of all time. People today still reference the NWO. You see the shirts and stuff like that. I'm just saying it wouldn't work, I don't think, in today's wrestling because people are too smart to. It would benefited it from the little bit I know about it was that era and the Monday Night Wars played into it as well as kayfabe. Like it was just it was a stable for its time. But no, it's not bad. I'm not shitting on it. Everything is me shitting on stuff with you. I'm not shitting on anything.
So it wouldn't work in today's time. So like, say if there was like a really brand loyal wrestler that went to like WWE right now, people, and he started doing things they wouldn't care. Like if his name was Cody Rhodes, for instance, and
Well,
he
that's
came in
different.
and then he bought some friends
That's
from
different.
AEW. You don't think so? Shut the hell up. You don't know what you're talking about, dog. Yeah, it
That's
would.
different, dude.
It's
This isn't a
not.
whole blown faction. This is a whole blown faction that this turns into, dude.
It does turn into it, and we're gonna talk about we're gonna get into that. But let's skip to Bash in the Beach. So Bash in the Beach, it's the Outsiders, and this is their first wrestling match in the company. Mind you, the build up is strong. 3 months of build up, going backstage, attacking wrestlers, doing things.
Powerbomb fucking Bischoff through a fucking table for crying
Yeah,
out loud.
power and Bischoff, cutting off broadcast, all this stuff. So everybody's hyped to see this. And the original plan, I don't know if you know, but if they couldn't secure the third man, which was Hogan, they were gonna try to make Sting the their iconic picture, the third man. But they were gonna originally have Sting do this. It was Sting, Macho Man, and Luger versus the Outsiders. But they convinced Hulk to turn heel, and it's one of the most iconic moments in wrestling. Dustin, did you get a chance to watch this moment?
I've seen it before, but I think what made it is this is the first time that Hogan really turned heel, right? Like in his whole career, like
Oh
he was
yeah.
always a baby face at this point. Am I
I
wrong?
mean, if you go back to
Yeah. So like
1980s in like Memphis and stuff, like he was a heel. He started off as a heel, but when he went to the WWE and everybody knows him, he was always a babyface.
yeah, but this was the first time that kind of Hogan turned his back on the fans. So it was kind of like, holy shit, like Hogan, because that's what made, in my opinion, that's what made Hogan and WCW is because it was really not just about the NWO, but it was kind of like the evolution of Hogan, which is what brought the stable to its peak. Because you got this guy that went through the late '80s that preached "eat your vitamins and stay your prayers," and now he's somewhat what Hollywood. He went to the other show. Now he's a heel. Now he's teaming up with Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, and many people reference that infamous promo after the match with Gene Okerlund, and it was just a big moment.
So you think that the NWO's success was contingent on Hogan joining?
I think he was a big part of it. I don't think it would have been nearly as successful if Hogan wasn't in the group.
Ooh, I agree, and it was, but like they don't get enough credit. They're hate on a lot, but Kevin Nash and Scott Hall did a lot for that group. If it wasn't for them too, like Hogan going heel, like just by himself, it wouldn't have worked. But
Oh, I agree.
Hogan with the
Mhm,
group, and like just all they did, which we're gonna get into, like the promos they did, how they talked, what they did behind the scenes type stuff. It all worked
mhm.
out to get that group really going here.
Oh yeah, well Kevin Nash, I mean Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were pivotal to it as well. It's just in my opinion if it was just Kevin Nash and Scott Hall it wouldn't have reached the height. You had to have someone like Hogan like at the forefront of the group to really get it going. It was the perfect fit.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. And so we start to get into it's just the three, but then we start to get into the new members that are coming in. Not shortly after this, they start to usually a faction at this point in wrestling is made up of about 5, 6 people max. So yeah, those are
Mhm.
the original four right there, and we'll see that they start to add in people to the group. We'll start with 6, and then they go from like Ted DiBiase, they get a manager. In the original like inception, there was about 6 people that start coming into the NWO, and I thought it, strange picks, but good picks because you had DiBiase, the manager. They needed a good manager. I think that was a good call. Then you had 6, who was another WWE.
Vincent.
Yep. Well, fuck him. But we got Vincent is when it starts to fall downhill for me. But we got 6, who was the 1, 2, 3 kid and we didn't mention it, but the Click, obviously, right? Let's talk a little bit about the Click.
Hmm.
Dustin, who are the members of the Click?
So the Click, correct me if I'm wrong, it was Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall.
Yes,
And
and
then the
one,
and then the
one, two,
and
three kid as well.
okay, he was in it too. But the
Yep.
infamous moment, obviously, was kayfabe. Many people blame the Click for killing kayfabe officially because of the whole, right before before this, when Kevin Nash and Scott Hall went to, as many wrestling fans know, but for those of that don't, like they had a house show. I think it was at a house show, and Kevin Nash and Scott Hall was their last match with the company, and they were the heels. And then after the match, like Triple H and all of them who are supposed to be baby faces, basically the baby faces are in the ring with the heels at the same time. And people's like, why is this happening and stuff? And they were blamed for officially killing kayfabe. And not to go off subject, but
Yeah.
really, who got fucked over it was Triple H, because
Yep.
Kevin Nash and Scott Hall bolted. Shawn Michaels was too big at that point to really punish him, so Triple H got the shaft for years. Like, a lot of people think Triple H has gotten a lot of stuff handed to him, but he went through a lot of years of getting absolutely fucking buried and shit
So
on
what I'm gonna
for
do is
that.
I'm gonna timestamp this, and whenever you talk shit about Triple H in future episodes, I'm gonna pull this clip because you like to shit on the man a lot.
I
But
don't
yeah,
shit on Triple H.
you do, and it's okay, dude. But Triple H, yeah, at that time, basically took all the shellacking for it. But the point I was trying to get to is 3 of those Click members are now in the NWO, so it makes sense for smart fans too. Like, oh man, their buddies are in here, so maybe this is kind of like a real deal type thing. And
Mhm.
we go from 6 to I believe who was Eric Bischoff is going to be one of the ones that comes in
Made
pretty
no
early on.
sense.
Nah, I think that was a good call. I think
They powerbombed the fucker through a table. Why is he joining him?
the power bomb altered his mind and changed his perspective on things, dude. There's
Okay.
always a way to get around it, but
That's
maybe
bullshit.
it could have been a money thing. It could have been like, oh, these guys are the big money items, let me hop on this, in storyline sense. There's a little bit of ways you could go about it, you know
And
Brent.
then what was bad about it is Hogan takes the title off of the Giant, which was the Big Show, and then
Yep.
2 weeks after getting screwed, he joins the fucking group. Dude, it makes no sense.
Yep.
Well,
So now you start to have this group of just at first it was WWE guys, now you're just taking WCW guys who never been in WWE or WWF at the time. And you're just putting them in there. And it's starting to get the little seeds of convoluted. But what we have to remember is the cool factor in the popularity of the NWO. Everybody during this time in 97, this is right before Stone Cold will become a big thing. So if you like wrestling, chances are you're probably an NWO fan. If you're like just a casual, you probably have an NWO t-shirt, you
hmm.
know, type deal. And I don't want to get too off track. I gotta stay on my notes here because I feel like I'm missing some things.
Oh, you're good. The only listen, I'm not trying like the NWO is probably the greatest faction in the history of wrestling. It's up there. Just from the popularity. Like I nitpick it, but it is. Like any casual wrestling fan knows the NWO. You see the NWO shirts and everything like that. That's what's kind of frustrating about it is because I feel like at the NWO at its height was really good, but especially like towards the end and like how it got convoluted, it kind of ruined it. But as far as like the popularity, it was the cool thing. Like the NWO or the Rebels, and that was just the cool thing at the time.
And one of their more iconic moments is when they go. There's a Raw, or excuse me, a Nitro, where it's outdoors, and I believe it's in Disney MGM. And
Mhm.
when they're like invading the backstage, and it's Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, but they're like beating people up, and it looks very like it's hokey, but it looks very real, especially when they throw Rey Mysterio's little Mexican ass through the trailer and he sticks like a
Mhm.
dartboard. That is an iconic moment, dude. And I'm Mexican too. I could say that, just preference. But yeah, he just goes straight
Okay.
into the trailer, and it's one of the things that most fans remember about the NWO: the no nonsense, the attitude, because that's key. That was key in the '90s. When you think of the '90s, you think of rebellion and you think of attitude, right? Am
Mhm.
I right?
Mhm. Yeah, I agree.
So that was the big thing. Another big thing that made the NWO really good was the promos. Have you seen an NWO promo, Mister
I
Wrestling
have. I
Enthusiast Research
have. I
Guy?
have. I listen, I agree with you. You hit the nail on the head with the promos was up until this point, this is right before the Attitude Era got big. So, but like before then, a lot of wrestling promos, especially in the '80s, were kind of larger than life, very character driven. But these promos, like, this was in my opinion, the strongest point of the NWO is they were the first group to really like make the promos really believable. Like you said, it's like that to your point, really believable. Like, holy shit, this could actually happen. Like, this is realistic. So I do give them credit for that.
The promos, back in the day, if you've never seen an NWO promo, the best way to describe it is kind of like a behind the scenes type deal. Like though it'll be like in a shoot room, like I don't know what you call that, where they um on set, and it's just like it's a black and white background, and it will be like sound bites. Like Hogan will be saying some shit, and it will cut, and it will be like Scott Hall talking over it and whatever. And the way it was cut was almost like it was homemade. So it made it like a sense like they're not even using WCW's production. They're using their own outside thing or whatever. And just little things in storytelling, little tiny things like that get the NWO where it needs to be in terms of popularity.
Hmm.
Um, I
My
guess now we
opinion. Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Didn't mean to
No,
interrupt
you.
you.
No, no, no. Go ahead. What's your
In
opinion?
my notes, in my opinion, this is when it really started going downhill. I have it highlighted in my notes. Thank you, Pro
Okay.
Wrestling Wiki, as well. Helped me get some good information. So obviously, Sean Walton joined the Wolfpack, but then, or I'm sorry, the NWO. But then after that, I think this is when it started getting too convoluted. Convoluted when it said the NWO announces a membership drive, giving all WCW wrestlers the chance to join the NWO, and then that led to like Michael Wall Street, Big Bubba, Buff Bagwell, the Great Muta, fucking all these people, and it just the group got too big.
What's your
Like they
favorite
tried.
Michael Wall Street match?
I've never seen a Michael Wall Street match.
Exactly.
That's but my point is like what made the NWO good when it first started is it felt like this exclusive clique, pun intended, that was like kind of exposing stuff and kind of trying to take over WCW. And when they started to add too many people into it, I felt it kind of like sacrifice what the group was supposed to be. It was supposed to be the elite taking over. It wasn't supposed to be a group for everybody to go in. I think they just tried to streamline the NWO into too much of the show.
You
Like they
know
were
what?
involved in almost every part of the show. Like at
Yeah,
one point.
yeah, they were, and that's one of the things that led to the downfall because they were so cool that nothing else could be the antagonist to it. You know, they would jump. There'd be like 10 of them, and they would jump wrestlers in the ring and spray paint them, and it was like soon nobody could touch the NWO. But you know what the plan was with that, right? With adding all these members.
What's that?
The original plan was supposed to be that there was going to be a WCW and an NWO show, and there was going to be two factions that coexisted in this world. So they were kind of trying to do what WWE did with SmackDown years later, but they were trying to have two separate brands. But the thing was that it was just they didn't really pull the trigger on it, man. And then they just had too many people and there was no direction. And that goes back to the WCW booking committee. Those goddamn idiots. They did shit like put Chucky on a goddamn Titantron and threaten Rick Steiner with a knife. Stuff like that. They had Rick Steiner come out with a goddamn pit bull that wanted to hump your leg instead of bite your leg. You know, they thought about things. They're like, oh, it's so cool. We can get Chucky from Child's Play in WCW. Dude, let's do more cocaine. Let's do it, dude. Let's fucking do it. Snort the line right now. We're gonna do it. And then they would do it, and they'd be like, oh.
This isn't a good idea.
Yeah, that was so much better on drugs than an actual practice, dude. And
That
that's
was a
what
good
they
Vince Russo impersonation, by the way.
yeah, that wasn't trying to be. But
It's
thank
hilarious.
you.
That's what I think of with Vince Russo. That's what I think of when he's in there.
Yeah, I mean drugs were pretty rampant in the 90s, not as much as in the 80s, but there was definitely people who just didn't think things. And that was the NWO, dude. Um they would try a pay-per-view, and I was just watching the documentary like I said, and this NWO Sold Out is where Scott Hall and Kevin Nash both point to the downfall of the NWO. So, have you ever heard of this pay per view?
What was the pay per view? I apologize.
Sold
I was
Out.
looking over my notes. I've heard of it, but you're gonna have to educate me on it a little bit more.
Well, I'm gonna run through it. I'm looking it up right now. I thought you could fill the time like a good host, but I guess I can go f
I'm
myself,
sorry. Well,
right?
I told you, man. This is more of the your neck of the woods because I wasn't a big WCW person. You were like I researched it and stuff like that, but I wasn't a big NWO guy. But Sold Out, wasn't that where Hogan beat um the Giant? Or no, he beat him before, but they had a match for the title
Yeah.
at
Wow. I'm
Sold Out.
surprised you know that. Yeah, they do have a
Thank
match.
you, Wikipedia.
But
But
basically, what Sold Out was
mhm,
was the test pilot for that brand I was mentioning earlier. It was NWO pay-per-view, but it was commentators NWO, ring officials NWO, which they only had one referee, Nick Patrick, the bastard. I hate him.
mhm,
Um, and it was kind of like like a test run, almost like what they do in 2002 with WCW when they gave them that test run on WWE. It was kind of like that, but it also just didn't go well.
mhm.
It did not go well. You had a couple good highlights there. You had Eddie Guerrero versus Six, but what they attribute to is like how are you gonna have a whole NWO show with NWO referees and then they lose? That's what Kevin Nash's exact quote was.
Yeah.
I get it, but at the same time,
Well, yeah.
go ahead. What do you think about that?
You gotta push the you gotta push the NWO because I'm like looking at these like if it's supposed to be like an NWO, like maybe the NWO doesn't win like every single match, but like the big one, like the big three of the NWO are Hogan, Nash, and Scott Hall.
Yeah.
and Scott Hall dropped the fucking tag team titles to the Steiner brothers.
Yeah.
And then fucking X Pac, who or Six, who is another fucking like big part of the group, loses to Eddie Guerrero. So like that was your chance. Like Hogan already had the world title. The Outsiders had the tag team titles. You could have put the title on Six, and they could have held all the titles. Like it didn't make any sense the way they did that.
Yeah, and this was the peak NWO time, so they really shit the bed with this one. And the main event, Hogan wins. Obviously, their focus is on the big guys, and that's another thing. This is the big thing. This is why it failed. Guaranteed creative control contracts. I think that's 6 words. Guaranteed
Mm-hmm.
creative
I heard
control
about
contract.
that.
Yes. So basically, what that is, if I'm Hulk Hogan and I come in to do my match and I see you got the L on my side, I'm like, you know what, brother? That doesn't work for me, brother. And I don't know what I want to do, but you better fix it. I'm about to go smoke my weed. And I come back in 15 minutes. If this shit ain't fixed, I'm gonna raise hell. And then that's what they got to do. So imagine trying to be the the um the booker or the writer of the show, and you have to appease all these guys, and you have no choice. You can't say anything, dude, because it's in their contracts. And you have about 9 guys on this roster who have that, and most of them end up being in the NWO. So maybe that's another reason why they shouldn't have done that. WCW, God damn it. They probably would still be in business if they did not do that creative control bullshit, because it's not best for business, it's best for the performers. And when you do that,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you start losing them, dude.
Boy, yeah, and you know Hulk Hogan ain't gonna fucking put anybody over.
I won't take the
Come on.
disrespect on Hulk Hogan though. No, this if you were in that position, you do the same thing.
Come on,
We
bro.
defend
Come
Hulk
on,
Hogan.
bro.
We defend Hogan on
Oh,
this show.
please. Like, you know Hogan ain't gonna put anybody over. That's all I'm saying.
Not at this time, but as he got older, he started to do more things towards the end of WCW. But yeah,
Oh,
it was.
really? Like how he put over Randy Orton at SummerSlam. He did that, right?
Hey, did I say what did I say? Did I say WCW or I say WWE? You should listen, dude.
Well, he never puts anybody over,
he
please.
put he look when you go. He put fucking Kurt Angle over. He made him tap out. He put the Undertaker over. He put a lot of people over. Also, what I was getting to is he did a feud with Billy Kidman, and Billy Kidman beat his ass a couple times. He didn't win, but he was fucking him up. Can you imagine that? Billy Kidman and Hulk Hogan? But I digress. That's farther down. Um, Now we're going to talk about our producer Jason's favorite part of the NWO, the Wolfpack versus the Black and White. Let's pull up list of the fucking factions here, Dustin, so we can go through this. Look at that.
Okay, I got it pulled up.
It was a
So the
civil
black.
war. God damn.
Okay, yeah, the Civil War in the NWO. Can you hear me? I was having a little bit of connection issue.
Yeah, yeah, we got you.
Okay, so in '98, this is off '98. So the let's see. So the Wolf Pack. Well, I mean, it goes back and forth. Like, I got the black and white or Hogan, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Scott Steiner, Brian Adams, Dusty Rhodes, Bret Hart, Dennis Rodman, Buff
Yep.
Bagwell,
This is all black and
the
white.
Disciple, and Steve Ray.
It's
Yeah,
like
that was
okay.
in '98. That was in '98.
Okay,
And then you have the Wolf. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say so far. So you got the disciple. That's Hogan, Hogan's cousin, Horace Hogan, and you got Stevie Ray. So you got a lot of older dudes in the wolf and the black and white. You got Big Papa Pump, right? If I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to get my list going right here. Yeah, Big Papa Pump. You got that. Is that the disciple right there, right next to Big Papa Pump and Hulk Hogan?
I think. I think so. I think so. Yeah.
And that goes to show you. But go ahead and name the Black Wolf Pack, and I'll tell you what this is in a
So
second. But go ahead.
so the wolf pack changes a little bit. So the wolf pack in '98 was Nash, Sting, Luger, Kurt Hennig, and Randy Savage, and then the wolf pack in '99 was Hogan, Scott Hall, Nash, Disco Inferno,
Oh
and
God.
Eric Bischoff, and then Lex Luger.
Oh, that sounds awful. That sounds like vomit. But let me tell you what this is. This is this
What?
is two dads. Two dads get into an argument. And one dad wants to go and join a motorcycle club with his buddies and play pool. That's the wolf. That's the white, black and white. Those are the old guys on their little motorcycles. That's what I think of. The wolf pack are the guys like, man, we're still young, brother. Let's go to the club and we'll listen to hip hop music and we'll have the wolf packs come back for the mass destruction coming type shit. So you have like the new age old people versus the old people, and none of they both get watered down. But if you had to choose one, what would you pick? While Dustin's little thing, we're having some technical difficulties, but while that's going on, I gotta pick the Wolfpack, man, because the Wolfpack was just the cooler side of it all. You had Kevin Nash, and you had Sting, and you had more guys that knew what they were doing in the new age timeline, with the hip hop influence and everything like that. It was a lot better, and like I said, with the black and white, you had old guys in a motorcycle club. It's just like you could tell like they're going to ride their Harleys down the street right now.
There we go. Technical difficulties. I'm back. I apologize.
That's all right. I held the show down because that's what I do. So so what I said is, which one would you choose? Black or white, or white and black? Oh, and look, you start again. You got it?
I think so.
Okay. So black and white or red and black Wolfpack?
Um, I think red and black looks cooler, honestly.
Okay, that wasn't my question, dude. I said the members. Which
Oh,
one
the
pick?
members.
Yeah.
Probably black and white on the members.
Wow, you were lame, dude. You were
What?
you picked the motorcycle club for men. They're sponsored by Just for Men.
What's wrong with the black and white, dude? You gotta pick the side that has Hogan. You have to pick the side that has Hogan.
You had the cooler people on Wolfpack side. Everyone liked Wolfpack. The shirt looked cooler, the face paint, everything at
Oh,
Sting.
I'm sorry. I'm glad you like fucking Disco Inferno
Look,
and
look, look.
and the motherfucker.
First of all, fuck Disco Inferno. He shouldn't even be in there. That's what we didn't touch on either. Everybody wanted to be in the NWO to get their own self over, and they were too kind with that. Whoever let in Disco Inferno in the NWO should be shot and beaten with sticks.
I guarantee it was Vince Russo.
No, Vince Russo was not here at this time. You got to remember.
Oh, okay.
You got to remember, this is about 98. Vince Russo won't come into the company till early 2000, possibly December
Oh, so he
99.
came in just to kill it off then. Okay.
Well, that's a conspiracy theory. Hold on, let me let my damn dog in. Ah, God damn.
Nothing but professionalism.
That's my little doggies. Okay, so yes, dude, Vince Russo was sought to come in and kill the company. But let's finish up this NWO stuff. So black and white, red and black, Civil War. Not the fans are starting to not care at this time. What do you got going on in the WWE? You got DX, you got Stone Cold, and you got The Rock starting to come through. So it's pretty easy to see in hindsight why WCW ended up losing that war. Dustin, what do you think that the NWO could have did to stay relevant?
Not have 30 members.
How would you just a quick thing, how would you book this?
So I would book it as it's a very simple way to book it. So they had and they kind of did this to a certain extent, but they didn't go all in. Like they had a recruitment process, initially to recruit people into the NWO. So it would have been cool as hell as if they would have merged because Macho Man was a lot on the Wolfpack. So correct me if I'm wrong because I am a little fuzzy on it. Macho Man was more on that Wolfpack side. Hulk Hogan
Yeah.
was on the black and white side, right?
Yeah.
They're the mega powers in WWE. You can have the rivals join together, or just have the cream of the crop. Just like we recruited people in, we're going to take people out. So by one on one, you just start fucking them up, taking all the people out of the NWO, and you fucking decrease the group to like five or six people, and you just weed out the fat. And like you could have pay-per-view matches, basically kind of like that that crossover show where it's basically like so and so fights so and so, where the winner stays in the NWO, the loser's out, and you could like make it into that. Like almost like a tournament bracket where you're fighting for your right to stay in the NWO, which was the premier faction in the company.
That seems kind of interesting, but I think the NWO should have been just done when they decided we want to do Wolfpack in black and white. I think it should have just been ended there. I think you can't half-ass shit. You can't be like, I want to make an NWO brand and then get cold feet because one pay-per-view doesn't turn out right. You know,
Hmm.
I think if they were gonna have that many people, you should have stuck to your guns and did it. And then maybe it could be something else. Maybe it doesn't have to be evil anymore. Maybe it could be, I don't
Hmm.
know. But that's what writers are for, dude. Not guys who do
Exactly.
cocaine on a damn on a in a meeting room. You need writers. You need people to know what they're doing.
Yeah, and I apologize for my technical difficulties, but I just think they were too down far the rabbit hole at this point, though. You couldn't just end it. It was
Hmm.
so ingrained into the show, and they had made it so ingrained into the show for so long that they kind of had to keep it going. They were so far in, you can't just not do it anymore.
Yeah, and well, eventually we started to see the NWO fall over, and it slowly fizzled out, and there would be new factions in WCW like the New Blood and the Millionaires Club in the early 2000s. But for uh, for the time, NWO was one of the best factions, and it's still probably the go-to when people think of like heel turns or promos in a faction. I think everyone wants to be the NWO.
Question:
Yeah.
NWO was the height of WCW, was probably WCW at its peak, but do you think WC one of the main reasons that WCW folded?
That's a pretty good question, but I don't think so, dude. I think it was just the lack of creative ideas in general because though you could get rid of the NWO, you still had Diamond Dallas Page and you had Goldberg, you had Bret Hart coming in, you had other things to do, you know. You just needed like a little bit of a direction of what could be the heels. You could still have a heel Hogan by himself. You could still have Hollywood Hogan, and you could still have the Outsiders, but the NWO could split off and become their own thing. So I don't think the NWO had to do with their backlash. I think it was more the bad decisions WCW made without it.
Well, see, I disagree, but I don't think they're the direct cause. I think the NWO exposed what was wrong with WCW, and that was they strayed away from what got them there. They were the alternative to WWE when they were coming up, and they had a lot of guys that we hadn't seen yet, and they strayed away from that to push the older guys. Which, look, if you can get a Hulk Hogan, if you can get a Macho Man, a Kevin Nash, a Scott, oh, you go out and get them. But the NWO, they put too much focal point on that, and they ingrained it too much into the show, and I think that was the downfall of their booking. They did that at the expense of not booking some of the younger guys, and that's why Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho and others and Rey Mysterio, flocked over to WWE, and I think that's what lost them. That they kind of lost what got them to the dance, and they played too much into that because they played too much into that convolutedness of that, and I think it inadvertently killed it. Among other things, it wasn't the only reason, but I think it did. I think the other reason, just quite frankly, is they overpaid their wrestlers too much. Like they were overpaying everybody to get them there, but they just wrote too many big contracts that they could not pay.
Yeah, and whoever took over that department saw that and they wanted to cut their losses. But at the time, Ted Turner didn't care about losing money. I don't understand the philosophy of Ted Turner. Like he was just like, yeah, I like wrestling. I watched it when I was a kid. So he was like, let's just give a whole bunch of money to this department. I don't care what the hell happens. Like, yeah, go get Hulk Hogan. I heard of him. I seen him on a cereal box, type deal. So, before we get into the last chapter of the NWO, which is the NWO revival in WWE, um, who who is your favorite member of the NWO?
Honestly, this is gonna shock you. I thought some of his best work, and this might be was Macho Man. I like
Oh,
I like the Macho Man in NWO a lot, the Macho King and all that stuff. So he was probably my favorite member. What about you?
you gotta go with the guy who really just got it started and it really kept it going, and that's gotta be Scott Hall. I feel like Scott Hall understood it and was cool, the essence of cool. And he passed away not too long ago, but people are starting to remember him for his cool factor, which is awesome. He's had a rough legacy with all the things that he's done, but people are actually starting to remember that what made Scott Hall a good wrestler, and that was his cool factor and his charisma.
Yeah, hats off to Scott Hall. He kind of like gravitated towards the issues, but he was even before NWO and WCW, like in the '80s. He was a big baby face. Like a lot of people loved Razor Ramon, so it was sad what happened to him, but he was still a great legend, all time legend. Scott Hall.
Who was the worst member of the NWO?
Fake Sting.
Well, that's a good one. I'm gonna go with Vincent
That was
because
Virgil, right?
yes, that was Virgil
Okay.
because he literally did nothing. He's the bodyguard, but he's shorter and skinnier than everybody else in the goddamn group. That makes no sense. I never understood Virgil being the bodyguard, and he does.
Hey, that's not fair coming from you, though.
That's great, but here's the thing: whenever they're like, "Can we please beat up the NWO?" Okay, Virgil, go out there and get diamond cutted. Virgil, go out there and get speared. Virgil, go out there and get in the walls of Jericho. It's always him. He was the
Wait,
whooping boy.
well, yeah,
Literally,
but every great thing, like when Vince was with Stone Cold, it was fucking Pat. I can't think of his name. Help me, Devin. I'm just blanking.
Pat Patterson.
Yeah, Pat Patterson. Yeah, it was always them as the Stooges. Every great needs a Stooge.
But the thing is, Stone Cold will whoop everybody's ass. Sure, he whooped their ass, but the only person in the NWO that would get their ass whooped was Virgil.
Because I can't get my ass whooped, brother. I can't
Yeah,
put anybody over, brother.
and Virgil's got to carry the weed, man. He's the weed carrier in that group. He's the bag boy.
The bag
But
boy. But how dare you disrespect short bodyguards? You're a bodyguard or security guard as well, and you'll whoop some ass. You'll hit
yeah, but
Stone Cold Stunners in there.
yeah, but if I'm guarding the Harlem Globetrotters or the Pittsburgh Steelers, it looks kind of stupid, no? If I'm guarding like these big dudes,
Hey, judge a book by its cover.
I Virgil's an idiot, bro. He deserves that.
I kind of feel bad for Virgil in a way. I know we're off topic, but I kind of feel bad for him. Like his whole career, he kind of got shit on. Like his
He
whole career.
They tried to let him swim and he couldn't swim, dude. That's what it is. He
Poor
just
guy.
sometimes you're given the bat and sometimes you hit a home run and sometimes you strike out and then you have to carry the weed.
Oh yeah, and Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman was horrible too, but
Dennis Rodman is a national treasure. I almost want to end the podcast now. Dennis Rodman was at the height with the Bulls. That was awesome, dude. How dare you? Love Dennis Rodman.
the celebrity. I mean, sometimes celebrities in wrestling are fine, but 9 times out of 10, I just don't think it's good.
You like Mike Tyson and DX?
Not really.
um so last chapter, WWE NWO comeback. I don't know if you've ever seen them come back in the 2002, but
Hmm.
it was really like the invasion happened in WWE prior to this, which is WCW invasion, but they took like the
Hmm.
B-listers. They took like, who did they have? Honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, they had Diamond Dallas Page, who wasn't even a big man in the invasion. He didn't do anything. They had wow, that's really bad that I can't remember.
So basically, from what I did in my research, so basically, like the storyline reason is why Hogan, Hall, and Nash came back as the NWO is because at this point, McMahon was sharing power with Ric Flair,
Yep.
and they didn't want Vince to be in power, so the NWO basically came back to try to make Ric Flair like the soul in charge, right? Essentially.
Well, he was saying he wanted to kill the company from the inside. So he brought on the NWO to kill Ric Flair's WWE, basically.
Okay. Okay.
Inject the lethal dose of poison. You never seen that promo? And he turns around and the fucking NWO chair is on the back of his big ass chair. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't actually.
Yeah. So it was a pretty cool idea. And then
Oh, so the NWO was allied with McMahon.
yeah, at
Okay, I
first,
got it
yeah,
mixed up. Okay, okay, that makes
yeah,
sense. That makes sense.
yeah. The NWO was aligned with McMahon, and then they came back, and it was really cool to see Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and them back. And um, you would have Hogan face The Rock at WrestleMania, and you would have Hall face Stone Cold at WrestleMania, and Kevin Nash was just kind of like,
I'm here.
yeah, basically, I'm here. Hi, you remember me? I beat Goldberg's streak. How's it going?
You know what's crazy in this iteration of NWO that it would have made sense to put Triple H in there, but they didn't do
Well,
it.
eventually, if we want to pull up the list of the WWE NWO members, I think this was like the worst. This was worse than WCW. Let me see. While we're, I remember off the top of my head, you have Shawn Michaels in it. You have Booker T. You have the
Hmm.
Big Show, and then you have Hall and Nash. And it's just like, why, dude? It's already been. It's like if you beat a dead horse with another dead horse at this point in time. It was just like,
Well, you know how Vince McMahon is, though. Vince thinks he can take something and make it better. But Shawn Michaels is in the NWO for like a day,
he's still there, and
and
he's
then he
looked.
fucking like, come on, he's in it for like a day.
Yeah, and honestly, the NWO was and the WWE was probably like not even a year, a couple months, and it just didn't go anywhere. It was cool to see them back for a one night only type deal, but
Mhm.
Scott Hall was on the wagon at this point. Kevin Nash's quad was screaming out in agony, and Hulk Hogan just got the senior discount at Denny's. So it was like, what the fuck, dude? We can't do anything here.
Hogan kind of held on too long, I think. But that's a common theme with the legends. They don't know when to kind of step away.
Hmm. So I guess we can just go final thoughts. What are your final thoughts on the NWO and their influence in the wrestling world?
Um, one of the greatest factions of all time, but a lot of missed opportunities. It's kind of one of those things where it was good, but it could have been so much better if they just would have managed it right.
Yeah, yeah, it shoulda, coulda, woulda, but for the time at the height, it was pretty cool, man. And I could still see why. Is it in the top 5 best factions of all
Oh
time?
yeah, it's like 2 or 3.
You would say 2. What do you so you're gonna say DX is better than
I think
NWO?
NWO is better than DX.
What do you think's the number 1 faction in wrestling then?
Probably
The Inner
either the
Circle, you're
four.
right, dude. Yes, dude, the Inner Circle, dude. That's a great
Boo.
choice,
No,
dude.
4 Horsemen or Evolution.
Evolution's pretty good.
Yeah.
But Four Horsemen, I just we were too young, bro. We don't know shit
I would
about the
probably
Four.
say it was Evolution, honestly. I thought Evolution was good.
Evolution's good, but the NWO definitely wrote the format on how to be a heel faction properly. And you saw that with the Bullet Club, which is the knockoff NWO type shit that they're doing nowadays. And it's still going. The Bullet Club is basically the NWO. Like we saw it in the TNA show. They have who Chris Bay. That's bad when the ripoff of the NWO becomes a ripoff of a ripoff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's so watered down. It's like ice water. It's so bad. It's no longer soda.
Oh yeah, completely off topic, but I saw this before we went on the podcast. There's some sad news in the world of wrestling.
What's going on?
The inspiration have stepped away from wrestling.
What? What?
Yeah.
Re- Why, dude? That's my favorite tag team, dude. How you gonna do that to me on live? You don't even.
Apparently they're making over $1 million on their OnlyFans, so they're just gonna switch over to doing that.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Yeah. Yep.
God damn. Yeah, I mean, they're dumb for figuring out that could have did that. They could have did that a long time ago.
Hey, they won the knock. There's the only women's tag team to win the WWE and Knockouts tag team titles.
So they never lost those titles, did they?
They did. They lost them to the Influence.
Well, that's a shame, man. I mean, do whatever you can for your family and whatever, but I mean, Peyton Royce, they were really good wrestlers, man. Sucks,
Uh,
but you never
uh,
know.
yeah, but that was completely off topic. But hopefully, that hopefully we summed up the NWO decently well. There's probably some NWO enthusiasts that were like, "You didn't hit this. You didn't hit this." Maybe down the road there can be a part 2.
Yeah.
But moving on to next week, this is the one you've been waiting weeks for, Devin.
Yes, dude. Street beefs coming into the pro wrestling world. We got the Brawl for All tournament. We're going to cover matches. We don't know exactly if we're going to do the semifinals or what we're going to do, but it's going to be a watch along episode. So if you listen to the podcast, we're going to timestamp it for you. We're going to watch matches along with you. And if you are a Street Beefs fan, you do not want to miss this episode because this will be the closest to an MMA episode we ever get.
Oh yeah, Brawl for All is gonna be cool, and I'm excited for it. My connection issues should be better. I got through most of the podcast, had a few hiccups here and there. Apologize for that. Devin held the fort down. Next week we see some people fuck people up. It's not a work, brother.
It's
It's a
not a
real
work,
fight.
brother. This is a
It's a
shoot.
real.
This
Yeah.
is a shoot, bro. And we're gonna see untrained overweight men fight for a fake amount of money and airtime. Dude, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be
Oh
great.
yeah, for all the grandeur. Well, that concludes this week's episode of the Mark Out Podcast. I'm Dustin.
And I'm Mustache. See you
Have a
next
nice
time.
night.